Harmohinder Sanghera, or Mindy, was a dental student in the UK, and like many others her age, fell in love with a charming man. The man, Sair, was a businessman in the UK, charming and rich, and Mindy fell for him. Mindy is of Indian descent, born to a Sikh family, in a religion and culture that takes pride in its history. Yet, she was so much in love with Sair, that she was ready to marry him and give up her religion to adopt his religion, Islam. Mindy was unaware that Sair already had a wife, and when she found out 2 years into their relationship, she decided to drive over to Sair and his wife, Sana's place, and warn her of her husband's infidelity. However, that same afternoon, Sana, all of 17 years of age, and pregnant with Sair's child, was found dead in her house. Someone had brutally murdered her and left her and the unborn child in a pool of blood, having stabbed her over 40 times. An investigation occurred, and the dots quickly connected to place Mindy at Sana's house earlier that morning, and circumstantial evidence led a jury to rule 11-1 against Mindy, and she was convicted of murder and sentenced to life, with no chance of parole before 14 years. About 14 years on, Mindy is still serving her sentence, but the case isn't without its mystery. And there have been a number of appeals and incidents where the defense has had reasons to believe Mindy may be innocent. Her most recent supporters have included top lawyer Sair, who was a Crown prosecutor but has taken it upon himself to study the case and prove Mindy's innocence. Having put many killers and child sex offenders behind bars as a prosecutor, his evaluation of the case led him to believe there were multiple loopholes that weren't addressed, and the circumstantial evidence may be pointing in the wrong direction. Another supporter is Detective Mark Williams Thomas, who studied the case and in a multi-episode podcast felt that the case wasn't handled properly, and many parts of the story point towards Mindy's innocence. Mindy had found out that Sair was married to Sana, and decided to pay her a visit. On the morning of May 11, 2007, Mindy decided to drive to Sana's place and tell her about her 2-year-long affair with her husband. While Sana was pregnant with Sair's child, Mindy had spoken to her friend about this before driving over and is also believed to have called her after making the visit. Mindy visited a gas station later that day where her clothes were identified. These same clothes were found in her house a few days later and seized by the police. On hearing about Sana's death, it was also Mindy who contacted the police and informed them about her visit to Sana earlier that day. Sana's body was found stabbed over 40 times, in a pool of blood, in the house that was locked from inside. While the facts of the case seem quite simple, and there is a clear motive for Mindy to murder Sana, as in many love triangles, there are multiple angles of the circumstantial evidence that point towards Mindy's innocence. Number 1, no evidence, blood stains, or other marks on Mindy or her clothes. The clothes that Mindy wore to Sana's place on the day were seized, and none of her clothes or her shoes had any blood on them. There were also no wounds or struggle wounds on Mindy, which you would think would be the case in a knife battle between two women. There was also no forensic evidence linking to Mindy found in the house apart from footprints on a cupboard in the kitchen that led up to the kitchen window. The prosecution claimed she wore a forensic suit, gloves, and protective equipment to avoid leaving any marks or letting herself get blood-stained, and escaped using a tiny kitchen window, shown by the footprints on the woodwork of the cupboard near the window. Crown Prosecutor Afzal says in his decades of criminal cases, he's never had a criminal commit a crime with a paper suit. Forensic suit is described. Also, the footprints on the woodwork were pointing the other way. According to Afzal, they also said she climbed out of the window, but the footprint was facing the other way. There was also investigative evidence presented in 2014 by her legal team that indicated new tests had shown she couldn't have escaped through the window without leaving forensic traces. According to the Daily Mail article, Sanghera's legal team have now unearthed what they consider to be compelling new evidence for the case to be referred to the Court of Appeal and her conviction quashed. They say fresh analysis of mobile phones suggests someone used or accessed the victim's phone after Sanghera had left her home, while new tests show Sanghera could not have escaped through a small kitchen window without leaving forensic traces. Mindy also told her parents before she became a suspect that she had climbed the cupboard to help Sana with the window. It would take an extremely professional and sharp criminal to leave absolutely no evidence of such a gruesome murder. Number 2, the stab wounds in the pathological report. The wounds on Sana's body were multiple cuts on her arms and a deeper abdomen wound while her body was found bent over on the edge of the bed. The total number of stab wounds was over 40. The knife used was a common knife found at many stores in the area and couldn't be traced back to Mindy or anyone else. Why this is ambiguous. The initial pathological report indicated these wounds were self-inflicted, but this was later changed to be homicidal wounds. However, However, Afzal believes that it would be very unlikely for an attacker to cause such wounds, and the attacker would have to be on their knees in front of the bed to cause the abdomen wound. It is more likely than on knowing of her husband's infidelity. Sana cut her arms in an attempt to kill herself, but after various failed cuts, she decided to stab herself in the stomach to end her own and her unborn child's life. Number 3. Phone records and statements from kith and kin. Mindy told her friend about her upcoming visit to Sana, and also then called her after the visit. She also told her parents about the whole incident and confided in them on an issue that could definitely cause trouble in the family. She was also the one who contacted the police herself on hearing about Sana's murder. Why this is ambiguous. Why would a woman, who quite apparently had motive to kill a murder victim, inform the police of her own visit to her on the day of the crime? Why would Mindy ever talk to her friend about the visit before and after the crime? If that was her motive, there were also call records that afternoon that indicated 21 calls and messages to Sana from her friends and relatives that indicated that they were worried about her for some reason. Mindy also mentions that during her visit, Sana mentioned she knew about her husband's affairs with other women, and had been cutting herself because of that. Sana's sister, who first found her dead body, also called the ambulance and said, "I think I've just found out my sister's killed herself." I don't know, why would she have reason to think that this was a suicide and not a murder, given the crime scene was a gory, bloody scene? These 3 primary factors, plus the fact that the house was locked from the inside, and that would be impossible if Mindy had murdered and escaped, and the kitchen window escape doesn't really tie in well. She's supposed to have collected all the blood-stained equipment and clothing, and burned it in her hospital where she studied. Could this be so easy for an amateur who just committed a crime of passion or revenge? Would she herself call the police and self-incriminate? Was circumstantial evidence even enough for a jury and the judge to award such a strict sentence without giving the defense any further opportunity? While one woman lost her life and other rots in jail, the man, the playboy business tycoon who played with women's hearts for his own fun, continues to lead a normal life. Mindy was in her early 20s and has lost a decade and a half of her life already, but she's now served her minimum of 14 years of the sentence, and there's new hope for her to walk out of prison not only a free woman but with her conviction overturned. We'll only know in due time if there is still hope for Mindy, or if she'll continue to serve time for a crime she may or may not have committed. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and wish to see more, click the subscribe button alongside with the notification bell. You can also like the video and comment to let us know about your thought on this case, as well as if you want us to cover any other one.